Welcome back, everyone. Our last deep dive focused on the life of James Campbell Jr. and all that drama with his family and land in Virginia.
Oh, yeah. That was quite the story.
It really was.
Yeah.
So this time, we're going to follow the trail of his eldest son, Joseph Campbell.
Interesting.
Yeah, born back in 1773.
Okay.
Joseph, he eventually leaves Virginia and heads west to Tennessee with his brother-in-law, David Cowan. And here's where things take a mysterious turn.
Oh.
Both of them die in 1826 under some really strange circumstances that have had their descendants scratching their heads for over 150 years.
Wow.
Was it an accident? Foul play? We've got court records, family lore, and even some cutting-edge DNA science to try and help us unravel this puzzle.
It's amazing how sometimes a simple question like, how did someone die, can lead to such a fascinating historical rabbit hole. And in this case, the quest for answers really does span generations and uses tools that Joseph Campbell himself could never have imagined.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. What do we know about Joseph's early life? The sources mention that he was born in Maryland, but spent his youth on the Virginia frontier.
Right. So Joseph is born in Cecil County, Maryland in 1773 to James Campbell Jr. and Mary Taylor.
Okay.
Not long after, the family relocates to the Virginia frontier near Joseph's grandfather and his extended family.
Wow.
What's interesting here is that we see Joseph, his father, and his brother John listed as some of the very first inhabitants of Russell County to petition for the formation of Lee County, Virginia in 1792. This gives us a glimpse into their civic engagement and ambition to establish themselves in this new territory.
So they weren't just rough-and-tumble frontiersmen.
No.
They were involved in actually shaping their community.
Yeah.
But then Joseph decides to pack up and head to Tennessee. What prompted that move, and what do we know about his life there?
Yeah. So around 1806, Joseph and his brother-in-law, David Cowan, they leave Lee County and set their sights on Lincoln County, Tennessee. It was a pretty common pattern in that era. Families were always pushing westward for new opportunities and more land.
Right.
They were definitely focused on farming and ranching. In 1810, they officially record their cattle marks. That was essential for identifying livestock and preventing theft back then.
It's like their own personal brand for their cattle.
Yes, exactly.
But then we have this dramatic event. Both Joseph and David die on the same day, October 2nd, 1826, in Fayetteville, Tennessee.
Right.
And the sources mention conflicting accounts of what happened.
Yes, this is where the mystery really deepens. We have these court records from just a week after their deaths, ordering support for their widows and children from the deceased's property. This suggests a sudden death, which could fit with either an accident or something more deliberate.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, the records don't give us any specifics, and any official investigations from back then are just lost to time.
Oh, man.
We're left with whispers of family stories hinting at foul play, but nothing concrete.
It's like a historical cold case. So how do Joseph's descendants fit into all of this? We know that he had a large family, but they'd seemingly disappear from the records after a while.
Yeah, so Joseph married a woman named Jane. Sadly, her last name is lost to a courthouse fire.
Oh, no.
But they had 9 children.
Wow.
We know their names thanks to a land record from 1834 that confirms Jane as his widow and lists all 9 kids. And in 1835, these heirs sell 220 acres of Joseph's land on Swan Creek, indicating they were still in the area at that time.
9 kids. Managing that on the frontier, that must have been really tough, especially after losing their father.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But then the trail just goes cold.
Exactly. And that's what makes the resolution of this mystery so remarkable. For over 150 years, Joseph's fate and the whereabouts of his descendants just remained a total puzzle. Even a land dispute in Lee County, Virginia, back in 1856 referred to him as if dead or alive, showing that even his own family back east had completely lost track of him.
So how on earth did they finally solve this puzzle after all that time?
This is where modern technology comes in. Enter Donald Campbell, a descendant of James Campbell III of Rose Hill, Virginia.
Okay.
He co-authored a book on the Campbell family history, but he hit a dead end trying to trace Joseph's line. Out of curiosity, he decides to take a Y-DNA test.
Okay, pause right there. For those of us who aren't genealogy buffs, can you explain what is so special about Y-DNA and how it can crack a case like this?
Absolutely. So the Y chromosome is passed down almost unchanged from father to son. It's like a genetic signature for the male line of a family.
Oh.
So by comparing Y DNA profiles, you can see if 2 men share a recent paternal ancestor. And in Donald's case, his Y DNA matched with a man named Dwayne Campbell from Arkansas.
Okay.
And the estimated time frame for their shared ancestor, the 1770s.
Wait, so they're suddenly looking at a very narrow window of possibilities for their common ancestor. It has to be someone from that specific generation in the Campbell family tree.
Precisely. And given the other clues they had, Joseph leaving Virginia around that time, his descendants vanishing from the records, they narrowed it down to either Joseph or his brother, Matthew, who had also moved west.
All right. I am hooked. We've got a DNA match pointing to a specific generation and a 150-year-old mystery surrounding Joseph and his family. What happened next? Did they manage to crack the case wide open?
Well, you'll have to wait until part 2 to find out.
Don't go anywhere, folks. The most exciting part of this deep dive is coming right up after a short break. All right, so before the break, we were left hanging. Donald Campbell gets this Y DNA match that points to either Joseph or his brother Matthew as a common ancestor. What happened next? How did they actually confirm that it was Joseph's line and solve this 150-year-old family mystery?
Well, it wouldn't be a very good deep dive without some serious sleuthing. Donald's son, Caleb, teamed up with Gray's daughter, Jana, and they dove headfirst into the archives, old family Bibles, letters, land deeds, census records, anything that could possibly shed light on the generations between them and their suspected common ancestor.
That sounds like a real-life genealogical treasure hunt.
Yeah.
And I imagine that those old documents can be pretty tough to decipher sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. You need a lot of patience and a keen eye for detail.
Yeah.
You're dealing with faded ink, sometimes archaic handwriting, and sometimes even incomplete or conflicting information.
Yeah.
But that's also part of what makes it so rewarding, like piecing together these little fragments of the past or reconstruct a family's story.
So what were some of the key breakthroughs in their research?
Right.
What kind of evidence finally convinced them that they were indeed descended from Joseph Campbell?
One of the most important discoveries was a chain of land records and wills that directly linked Dwayne and Jana's line back to William Alexander Campbell,
Okay.
Joseph's 7th child. Remember how we mentioned Joseph's heirs selling land in Tennessee back in 1835?
Yeah.
Well, those records provided some crucial clues about William's whereabouts and his connection to Joseph. They were then able to trace William's descendants as they migrated from Tennessee to Arkansas, eventually leading to Dwayne and Jana.
So they essentially built a bridge across generations, connecting the dots from the present day all the way back to Joseph and his children in Tennessee. That's incredible.
It really is, and it just speaks to the power of combining traditional genealogical research with these new DNA technologies. The Y-DNA test really gave them a starting point, a target ancestor to aim for, and then the meticulous work with those historical documents provided the concrete evidence needed to confirm that link.
It's like solving a puzzle, where you have some of the pieces, but you need to find the rest to see the complete picture. And in this case, the picture they revealed is a family reunited after over a century and a half of separation. That must have been a really emotional experience for everyone involved.
Oh, I bet. It wasn't just about names on a family tree. It was about reconnecting with living relatives, sharing stories, and understanding their shared heritage in a whole new light. It's a testament to the enduring power of family ties, even across vast distances and generations.
It makes you wonder how Joseph Campbell himself would react if he could see all of this unfold. Here he was carving out a life on the frontier, and centuries later, his descendants are using cutting-edge science to trace their roots back to him.
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? The world Joseph knew was so different from ours, yet his story continues to resonate through the generations. And this discovery doesn't just illuminate his life. It sheds light on a whole branch of the Campbell family that had been shrouded in mystery for so long.
All right, so we solved the mystery of Joseph's descendants, but let's go back to Joseph himself for a moment. His life seems to have been marked by both ambition, remember those petitions in Lee County, and tragedy. Do we have any insights into what kind of person he was, what his hopes and dreams might have been?
Unfortunately, the historical record is pretty sparse when it comes to Joseph's personal life. We don't have any diaries or letters that really offer a glimpse into his thoughts and feelings, but we can infer some things from his actions. Like the fact that he chose to leave Virginia and strike out for new territory in Tennessee suggests a certain adventurous spirit, a willingness to take risks in pursuit of a better life for himself and his family.
It's that classic pioneer spirit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pushing boundaries, embracing the unknown. And even though he died relatively young, his legacy lived on through his children. They spread out across the country, carrying with them those same values of hard work and resilience.
Exactly. And it's through their stories, the choices they made, the challenges they overcame, that we can really start to piece together a more complete picture of Joseph's impact on the world.
Speaking of those children, you mentioned they settled in various states across the country. Do we know anything about their lives after they left Tennessee? Did they manage to maintain those close family bonds even as they spread out?
That's a great question, and it leads us to another fascinating chapter in this family saga. We might imagine that once families spread out across the vast distances of the American frontier, that those bonds would inevitably weaken. But in the case of Joseph's descendants, the opposite seems to have happened.
Really? What kind of evidence do we have for that? Did they stay in touch through letters or visits?
Well, letters and written correspondence from that era are unfortunately quite rare, but we do have some tantalizing glimpses into their efforts to stay connected. For example, there are records of family Bibles being passed down through generations, often with handwritten notes recording births, deaths, and marriages. These Bibles acted as a tangible link to their shared past, a way of preserving their family history and keeping those memories alive.
It's like a physical embodiment of that family connection, something they could hold and pass down to future generations.
Exactly. And in some cases, we even have evidence of family reunions, sometimes bringing together descendants from far-flung states. These gatherings weren't just social events. They were opportunities to reaffirm their shared identity, to tell stories, and to pass on traditions to the younger generation.
That's so heartwarming to hear. It really underscores that even as they were building new lives for themselves, those family ties remained deeply important to them.
It speaks to a profound human need for belonging, for connection to something larger than ourselves. And in a world where they were constantly confronted with the challenges of frontier life, isolation, hardship, uncertainty, those family bonds must have been a source of immense strength and support.
It makes me think about how important family history is, not just for understanding where we come from, but also for shaping our sense of who we are in the present. If Joseph Campbell's descendants had lost that connection to their past, would they have been the same people?
That's a profound question, and one that historians and sociologists continue to grapple with. It's clear that our sense of identity is deeply intertwined with our understanding of our family history. It provides us with a framework for understanding our place in the world, our values, our strengths, and even our weaknesses.
And in the case of Joseph's descendants, it seems like that family history was a source of resilience and perseverance. A reminder that they came from a long line of people who had overcome adversity and built a life for themselves in a new land.
Precisely. And that's a legacy worth celebrating. Their story is a testament to the power of family, the importance of remembering our past, and the enduring human spirit that drives us to connect with one another across generations and geographical boundaries.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some of the key takeaways you hope our listeners will remember about Joseph Campbell and his descendants?
Well, first and foremost, I hope they'll be inspired by the tenacity and resourcefulness of these early American pioneers. Joseph and his family faced incredible challenges, yet they carved out a life for themselves on the frontier and left behind a legacy that continues to resonate today. I think their story also highlights the importance of embracing curiosity, of asking questions about our own family history. You never know what fascinating discoveries await you, what mysteries you might unravel, or what connections you might forge with long-lost relatives.
It's like we said at the beginning, sometimes a simple question can lead you down the most amazing historical rabbit holes. And in this case, that rabbit hole led to a family reunited, a mystery solved, and a richer understanding of the human experience itself.
Beautifully put. And on that note, I think we can safely say that Joseph Campbell's story, though shrouded in mystery for so long, has finally been given the ending it deserves.
Well, folks, that concludes our deep dive into the life and legacy of Joseph Campbell. We hope you enjoyed this journey through time and across generations. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those family ties strong.